If you really want to understand me, we gotta start with Air Bud. See, most people, they know me as a Chicago kid. But when I was 3 years old, I was living in Moffett, Oklahoma. Middle of nowhere. Cows, horses, farmers, real country. This was around 1999. And around 99, guess what movie had just come out on VHS? Yup. The original, the all-time classic. Listen, Air Bud was like the Godfather to me as a kid. I'd run that VHS tape back maybe 3 times a day. A movie about basketball and dogs, 2 of my favorite things in the world. It didn't get much better. And while we already had a ball around the house, we didn't have a dog. So you know I was begging my mom for one all the time. Then, one day, out of nowhere, my mom comes up to me and she says, "Jahlil, guess what's arriving today?" Dramatic pause. "Your puppy. They're dropping him off later." I was going wild. You couldn't contain me. I remember I was jumping up and down in front of the window, looking out at the street for the car to come. And I can still picture this little old lady, pulling up real slow, and then walking to the front door with this cardboard box. I see this little Great Dane puppy with its head popping out the top like, "What's up?" And I'm looking back at this puppy, and I'm so excited. So right on the spot, man, I just blurt out, "This is Hector." I don't even know where it came from. Courtesy of Jahlil Okafor. Turns out Hector was a girl. My bad, but I was so dead set on the name, and my mom was so cool about everything, that she just let it go. All praise to my mom for letting me embrace my creativity in that situation. That was my mom, though. She was so fun to be around. It's hard to find the right words to describe her, but maybe picture Queen Latifah. Every time I see Queen Latifah on TV, I see my mom. Same personality, same energy. Just picture growing up in Moffett, Oklahoma, with like 180 people in the whole town, and your mom is telling you, straight up, you can be anything you want to be. You can be anything you want to be. You can be the first black president. I was lucky, man. My mom truly believed in me. She believed in me no matter what. But then a couple of years later, when I was 9 years old, something happened that changed my life. My sister and I, we were just chilling on the couch watching TV. She's 3 years older, so it was always this battle for the remote. She wanted Bet. I wanted Animal Planet. After a while, we struck our usual compromise, flipping back and forth during the commercials. Could have been any other day. All of a sudden, though, my mom starts breathing really hard. Like, really hard. She had been saying she had bronchitis, but you have to remember, I'm 9. I don't even know what that means. She keeps breathing harder and harder, and honestly we thought she was playing. She was constantly joking around, never in that manner, but still. I assumed it was one of her jokes. That was just her way, you know, doing all kinds of stuff to make us laugh. Like I said, she was Queen Latifah. To try to call her out on her bluff, I threatened to eat her Oreos that were in the kitchen cabinet. That should do it, I figured. But she just kept breathing harder and harder and harder. Pretty soon, my sister and I began to realize she wasn't joking. It was total shock. "Oh no, this is real. We have to call 911. I just remember frantically screaming and running for the phone. The thing was, the phone in our house wasn't working at the time. So we had to run across the street to our neighbor's house to call the ambulance. After that, it's all kind of a blur. I remember the ambulance finally speeding up to our house. I remember the paramedics ripping her shirt open. I remember them taking her away on the stretcher, and then putting her in the back of the ambulance. I guess I was too young to really know what all of it meant, but when they came, I just remember thinking to myself, alright, they're getting her help. This is crazy, but she'll be okay. I just remember frantically screaming and running for the phone. Then we got to the hospital, and were sitting there for what seemed like hours, until eventually one of the doctors came out to the waiting room. And I'll never forget how they said it, "She didn't make it. Your mom, she didn't make it." I had this huge pit in my stomach. I was crying. I was experiencing all of these complex emotions that I had never felt before. And yet the memory that sticks out the most, it's so simple and specific. I remember going into my mom's hospital room, and rubbing her hair. Just slowly, gently rubbing her hair. I remember how soft it felt, and how I kept going in and out of the room, back and forth to her, lying there, just looking at her, staying with her, not wanting to leave. I remember how it felt like that was the one thing I could do in that moment to make things better, not leave, because leaving, you know, that would be accepting that she was gone. And so I just kept on rubbing her hair. I stayed pretty much the whole night, until they took me home. I remember when we got back to the house, me and my sister were there with my two younger brothers, and it all felt empty. It felt so dark. At some point, I grabbed my basketball and I went outside. And I just started shooting. I don't know why, I just did. We had an old basketball hoop outside the house, and I shot on it all night. I was on autopilot, and I didn't stop. For months, pretty much, I didn't stop. That was my sanctuary out there. Then the year after my mom passed, our family got split up. I went to Chicago to live with my dad, and my sister stayed behind to live with my grandma.